How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. There we are again with the scrolling. Welcome, welcome. This is The Experts, and this is Jonathan Gillum. Here live in Manhattan on a Friday night. I could swear I turned those off before I started the show, but we are live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. This would all be probably better if I had like 4 more of these right now. I got to save a little for the Friday night toast tonight. If you don't have your beverage, get it, because if you're like me, I'm out. I don't have any. I got to go get some more Corona Light. We got a lot to talk about in a short period of time. A lot of stuff kind of inflamed over since yesterday, and I think some of it's laughable, actually. So why don't we get started with the warning order? And in case somebody like I don't know, Jim Gagliano wants to know what a warning order. I'm sure he probably knows because he was in the military and the 10th Mountain Division and graduated from Ranger School and was hostage rescue team in the FBI. And gosh, we could brag on James Gagliano all night because he was such an amazing, amazing operator in everything that he did. And if you think I'm being facetious, I am, because the guy's a complete turd. Anyway, narcissistic turd, I guess, even though thank you for your service. Let's go ahead and get started with the warning order. That has to do something with a tweet that was shot at me last night by this knucklehead. So let's go ahead and get started. In honor of James Gagliano and his narcissistic attitude that pretty much consumes any room that he's in. Let's do it. All righty. I don't know where that came from. Just figured I'd spout it out there. Listen, for everybody who I got to turn these chats on right here. Everybody who I saw a bunch of people responded to that, to Gagliano last night, and the funny part of it is that the tweet started with, I don't know where this came from, to tell you the truth, but the tweet started with, before he pulled it down, like the, whatever. People who know they do stuff wrong pull tweets down. But he said he was listening to last night's show. This is great, okay? He was listened at the recommendation of angered, decorated FBI colleague. Now, there are FBI agents and support people that watch this show, all of them my friends. And I don't know. I've talked to several of them today. I don't know what a decorated FBI agent is, or FBI colleague. What I don't know what it is. Can somebody tell me what a decorated? We don't get medals like we get in the military. I think if you do something halfway decent, you'll get a time off award where you get a couple days off with pay. Something like that, unless you are the upper echelon SESers who, as we talked about last night, get bonuses from like $25,000 to $50,000, which is complete bullcrap. I had another long discussion with that with a friend of mine that's in the DOJ, and it's unbelievable the way that they justify these bonuses that they give out. So anyway, this goes on, and he says, can't tell you how disgusted I am with your expert take. You've done a disservice. You know what? Why am I doing this? Let me just do this real quick so I can read it together. I'm sorry. I completely forgot that I could stick it up here on this computer. Stand by 1 second here. Stand by. Stand by to stand by. And then that way everybody can see what I'm talking about. Let me, I got to crop this thing because he had a lot to say. He had a lot to say. Okay, here we go. Stand by. All right. What on earth is that? Okay, that didn't go through, so let's try that one more time. I guess you can hear that. Well, that's awfully strange. It's not like, oh, there. Yeah, it did come up. Okay. Never mind. Sorry. My bad. Let's see here. I got to add it here real quick. Image. We'll call this one Gags. I don't know if he figured I would talk about him tonight, but look, I don't normally talk about coworkers, but when they do something stupid like this and acting like he doesn't know me. Let's see if this comes up. There it goes. Okay. So here it is, folks. Let me just pull this up. I guess you'll be able to see this. Okay. He says, listen at recommendation of angered, decorated FBI colleague, J. Gillum _seal, that's me. Can't tell you how disgusted I am with your quote-unquote expert take. You've done a disservice to your viewership. Don't recall your service in Mexico City when I was there. How long were you an agent? Okay, first of all, let me just tell you about Gagliano. Jim Gagliano likes to go around acting like he is the most badass person in the world. I guess he's gotten rid of a bunch of his tattoos because he's all tatted up and, did undercover work and stuff. I'm not taking away from the service that he did. But this guy, basically, in a nutshell, what Gags does is he goes around portraying himself as somebody that is on top of the world when his life's in shambles. And so he came up to me in the FBI Academy when we were doing physical training, and we were boxing, actually, when we were getting ready for Bull in the Ring, or maybe in the day of Bull in the Ring. That's where we do it's a boxing competition. And he says, oh, I want you, you're former SEAL, right? I was like, yeah. He goes, I want you to come to New York. You're coming to New York. I was like, all right, sure, and I didn't know who he was. Found out, he's former HRT member, hostage rescue team member, head of SWAT up in New York City. You're going to come to New York City. So, listen, when somebody who's head of SWAT in New York City says they want you to come to New York and that you're going to be on SWAT and this and that, I was like, all right. So I put in my papers to go to New York. I wanted to go to New York anyway. So I go to New York and I get there. 2 years, you have to be 2 years before you can serve in the SWAT team. 2 years later, I go to try out for SWAT. And by this point, I'm no use to Jim Gagliano, because he would wave me around and, introduce me to people there for a while. And after that newness had worn off, I became, I guess, more of a threat. I don't know how this works with people, narcissistic individuals that are literally clinical. So basically what happened was about 40 people go out for SWAT. And I get up there and, I gave it my college try, and considering my background and experience, I figured, and having been told that this is going to be, you're going to be on SWAT, it turns out I get called into his office and he says, we chose 40 people tried out. We had 7 people that we chose, and unfortunately through the matrix, they got this secret matrix that they use, you came in 8th. And so whatever, they didn't choose me. And he's like, but I want you to go out, you can go out again next year. And he said basically the reason why that he didn't choose me was because there was an interview process that they do with the SWAT team, where they have all the SWAT guys around. And basically what they did was all the people that were in my little squad, he gave me their folders and he said, I want you to arrange these folders in the way that you would want to pick these guys if you were going to be picking them to be on the team. So I said, okay. So I put, this guy here and then stacked them up and I put mine on top of it. And he's like, he looks at these, and he's a West Point grad, right? So one of the guys was a West Point grad. He's a great guy, but he wasn't having a good tryout. So I'm looking at this from an instructor's point of view. I put his file on the bottom. Well, that pissed Jim Gagliano off because he says, so let me get this straight. You put a West Point graduate folder on the bottom and you put yourself on the top. And I said, well, listen, I know my training, and I know when I go through a door, I can count on me. I know where I've been. I know what I've been trained to do. And so, yeah, tactically speaking, I'm more trained than any of these guys. And I've proven that I'm going to go forward when I go through a door. And he was livid because I didn't pick the West Point grad to be up there on the top. So that plus, again, I wasn't any use to his narcissistic ego. I came in 8th out of 40 people, and they only chose 7, according to him. I don't know. Nobody knows the reality of this matrix and how this matrix works, except for the fact that it seems to work with whoever they want to pick actually gets at the top of this matrix, basically, is the way this thing works. So I never went out for SWAT again. It's the only thing in my entire career that I have ever desired to do and just said it's not worth it. Everything else, even if I failed, I went back again and again until I made it. In this case, I was like, I'm not going to do this again, because I didn't want to be a part of something that didn't want me and my experience. And this seems to be, in that case, I don't know about now because I've been out for 5 years, but when Gagliano was there and some of these other guys, that was kind of the case of the way that things were. So that's it. That's my history with Jim Gagliano, other than the fact that when I was in SEAL training, and I really was in SEAL training, not like Jim Gagliano. when I was in SEAL training, I was in 3rd phase. We were about to graduate, and he came with 3 other members of the hostage rescue team. And so the way it works in the world of SEAL training, once you become a SEAL, you can go to basically any other training that the government offers if you can get it approved. Like I went to Ranger School and graduated Ranger School, got pinned with the Ranger tab, and but those people cannot go through SEAL training. So we can go through theirs, but they can't go through ours because we keep that in. I'm assuming this is a reason why. I've never actually asked anybody, but I'm assuming it's because our training is such that unless you're going to be a SEAL, it has to do with qualifications and whether or not, I think they keep a lot of this stuff in-house, the secrets and the tactics. I don't know exactly what it is, but ultimately we can go through everybody else's courses, but they can't go through ours. But people will come to 2nd phase to learn how to use the Draeger, which is a rebreather system that we use. And that's what Gagliano and some 3 other agents did from the FBI hostage rescue team. This is back in '98, and when I was in 3rd phase in SEAL training. They came to 2nd phase. It was a course for them where they show up, and if they want a PT, they can. If they don't want to do physical training, they don't have to. They wore full wetsuits when they were diving, where the guys in 2nd phase that were actually going through SEAL training wore what's called beaver tails, where it's just like there's no pants. You didn't get gloves. I guess sometimes you would get a hoodie, but basically just the beaver tail was the thing that hang down. It comes up and it Velcros right across your crotch, and then you wear regular shorts. So no matter how cold the water is, that's all the wetsuit that you're getting. It just basically covers your core. They would get full wetsuits and their gear, and they would they would go to the basic officers' quarters across the street and at night and sleep in nice beds, and they would show up whenever they want to show up. So it was a gentleman's course for them. They put themselves for fun to go through some more of the harder stuff. And we saw this in my class. We had EOD guys who were going to another team, and they came there to learn how to use a Draeger. Same thing. And the same thing, they would show up. We were broken down at that point. Those guys would show up in great shape. Even though we were running incredible times, if they beat us, like one of the EOD guys showed up there, the guy's like an Olympic caliber runner. Every time he beat us, we would get beat, physically beat. And so that was the extent of it. Gag says he was there for 8 weeks. I don't know if he was there fully for the 8 weeks. Listen, we'll take his word on it that he was there for 2nd phase, but that's it. Okay, he didn't go through SEAL training. He was never a SEAL. He was at the Buds compound going through to learn the Draeger alongside class 220, I believe it was, which one of my platoon mates was in that class and didn't have much to say about him as well. So, this guy goes around, puts pictures on his wall in his office, tells people he went to SEAL training. I swear he told me he was a Ranger, never was a Ranger. I mean, I could go on and on about this guy and the ego and the things that come out of his mouth. But the point is, when it comes to stupid stuff like this, see, I don't go after counterparts typically unless they go after me first. Rob O'Neill has said some things about me, but I'm not going to call out Rob O'Neill any more than I did when, and I had my reasons for doing what I did. Rob doesn't even know those reasons. But this guy and what he's doing here, like he is the high and mighty, all know about Mexico City and talking about some decorated FBI colleague who was angered, yada, 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 trying to ask me how long I was an agent. He knows how long I was an agent because he's the one that got me to go to New York. And then talking about how referring to Mexico City or Mexico as a third world country shows utter lack of understanding of the region. Well, I don't think so. See, I didn't operate in a suit, Jim Gagliano, inside a compound. I was all over Central South America teaching people like their special forces and their conscripts, quite frankly, all over Central South America, Honduras, Panama. We were in Paraguay and Chile. Chile was actually kind of nice. And it's third world country. And then when we went through language training when I was in Mexico as a SEAL, it wasn't much better. But when I went back down there as a civilian, as a civilian when James Gagliano was the legat in Mexico City, which I did text him and tell him or emailed him and said I was going to be coming down there, which I did not get a response because, I didn't mean anything to Gagliano at that point. So basically, I was there doing a protective detail it was 2.5 or 3 years ago, and with a very wealthy person that had to travel 2 hours south. And let me tell you, we stayed there for a week, and it was pins and needles the entire time. Even the people that owned the resort that we were staying at were constantly on pins and needles. So, again, let me pull this back up. Asking me how long I was an agent. He knows how long I was an agent. He knows me. I just saw him the 3 weeks ago at the Newsmax Christmas party, unfortunately. Telling me that I have an utter lack of understanding of the region. Yeah, I don't think so. I didn't walk around in a suit kissing ass like you did, Jim. And then talking about how I was mispronouncing the cities I was expertly maligning. I don't think I mispronounced them. I couldn't remember them. That's a totally different thing. Cuernavaca, the other places that we were talking about, the islands off the coast, Acapulco. These are all cities that have, you can't even go to Acapulco, Jim. If you think you can go to Acapulco and it's not, you're not probably going to get kidnapped or killed. You're ridiculous. You're stupid is what you are. So I don't know what he determines a third world country, but in my mind, any country that basically is a failed state is a third world country to me. You can have running water and you can have lots of business coming into Mexico City, but you go outside of that city, the locals are scared to death. They will not talk, in a lot of places, will not talk to people that are foreigners that are coming in there. Sometimes they will, but then you can't trust what they may be doing because they may be pressured into telling narcos and different people that you're there. It's a third world country. That's why President Trump was referring to these places as, what he was saying, crap holes. I'm not going to say it because the media has gone crazy saying this. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he says he's disappointed in what I'm selling. He guesses there's a market for it. You're damn right there is, Jim Gagliano. It's called truth, which is why I left CNN, because they're not interested in the truth. But that would explain why you were still there. Because you're a liar, you're a blowhard, you have a huge narcissistic ego that gets in the way of basically any relationship you try to have. We all know this. And quite frankly, the majority of people that you served with in the FBI, they didn't like you then, they don't like you now, right? So, how do you end this? He's disappointed in me. I don't care. Quite frankly, I don't care. I'm 48 years old. I've got a lot more to worry about in my life than what Jim Gagliano thinks about me. And quite frankly, I don't give a rat's ass what anybody from the Bureau thinks about me, with the exception of the people that I know that were honest, good working people, that their opinions mean everything. And there's several people that watch this show and they fall into that category. But when it comes to the Gagliano types, I mean it in all sincerity. All right. I care about as much of what this tiny little screwdriver thinks about me as what I think Jim Gagliano thinks. And if he thinks coming on and doing what he did yesterday, trying to demean me in my opinion and my expertise in those fields, and calling me out on my experience and my years of service, that's the first thing that I laugh about. If he thinks that's going to bother me or injure my career, he's wrong. And but quite frankly, I'll tell you what, it was a great test of the CQRF. I thought they did an amazing job of going after him. I didn't do anything. I sat back and watched these amazing tweets going at him in the right way. You know how these trolls come on here and they say profanity and nasty things. The CQRF responded. They responded late at night and this morning, and they were absolutely truthful with this guy. So, listen, that's the way we roll. All right, it was a good test for the CQRF when one of us is being attacked. I would like people to be able to say, CQRF, this is happening, and people will start to trickle in there and jump on the bandwagon, and then you just back off and let it happen. That worked well, and that was the intent of creating this idea a long time ago. So it worked well, and there were several people on there that were, you guys are warriors when it comes to this stuff. Man, you put some serious thought process into this, so I can't thank you enough. That's it. I don't want to talk about this knucklehead anymore, and I hope the angered FBI, decorated FBI co-worker, whatever he called, what do they call him? He said, angered, decorated FBI colleague. I hope whoever that is probably Jeff Ringel, that idiot boss that I had. I would love for them to come on this show and tell us what their idea of a third world country is, and tell us why truth is such a bad narrative. I also like to know why they thought it was a good idea to come on and try to malign somebody who comes on of his own time and money, along with the donations, over 2 years to make sure that people are educated in the reality of what's going on behind the scenes. Why would you want to malign somebody like that? The only reason I can think of is what Maureen said, because you're putting up your peacock feathers and you want people to notice you. And that's exactly what happened, except the people that noticed you noticed the reality of how ridiculously jealous and stupid you looked when you wrote that. So, you may have deleted that, but we captured it and we got it, and we'll keep it for prosperity and so that everybody can see what a knucklehead Jim Gagliano is. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go. What I want to talk about real quick here is, and I actually tonight, I'm not in a hurry to get out of here, but I will tell you, it is like summer outside. What is the temperature right now? It is 55 degrees. It's about to rain, and it's humid as all get out. So, I don't know why I chose to wear a flannel shirt, because I'm already starting to die. I have my air conditioner on. Inside, look, New York apartments, when it gets hot above 50 degrees outside, you pretty much have to turn on an AC if you have one. These apartments and the buildings and the structure, the way it goes down into the ground, causes heat to rise, plus the pipes are running through the cement, and it's amazing how warm it is in here right now. So if I pass out, I'm going to grab my beer on the way over. Maybe I'll be able to hydrate myself back up. One last thing before we start. Rico went to the doctor today. They did blood tests. His blood pressure was okay. But unfortunately, look, Rico's almost 18 years old. Unfortunately, what they think has happened is he may have had a stroke or something that's has to do with his brain, because he is walking in circles to the left now. So I'll find him whining, and he'll be stuck in a corner and can't get out of it at times. Now, we went for a walk last night. We walked about a mile, and he was able to do that. But today, I tried to walk him today, and it was not good. He has a very, very difficult time walking forward. So there's some neurological things going on in there. He's laying right here next to me, sounding asleep, but he's eating well. He's drinking water. He's going to the bathroom perfectly. It just appears as though he may have some neurological issues going on up here. So, listen, as long as he can be here, he'll be our mascot, and forever afterwards, he'll still be our mascot. So he's here now, and that's what we got to be thankful for. I'll bring him up here. I'll wake him up before the end of the show. So let's go to the A block, and we're going to talk about the most alarming part of President Trump's S-hole comment, and we're going to talk about that. And I think you're going to be, well, if you know me, you're not going to be surprised, but people who tuned in here because they want to hear me malign President Trump, you're sadly mistaken on that one. So let's go ahead to the A block. All right. So let me write this out. So here's the deal, folks. Yesterday, I saw two things come out on the news that it's like this. When I see these trolls say stuff on here, and they say, like I put up the stuff about Oprah Winfrey, that tweet has gone viral. It's been retweeted over 2,000 times. And I said basically that I'll read it to you here. And I was talking about Oprah Winfrey and the Golden Globe Awards, and that I'll read you the tweet. It said, "Where were the Golden Globe black dresses all the years when Rose McGowan and others were attacked by known sexual predators? What about Corey Feldman and victimized child actors? Why weren't those victims given a spotlight instead of the blatant Oprah 2020 campaign speech?" And I put pictures there, this one in particular, of Oprah Winfrey sucking on Weinstein's ear. I don't know if you all have seen that one, but she's literally got his ear in her mouth. Well, okay, first of all, you don't suck on somebody's ear unless you're very close to that person. And secondly, Oprah, time and time again after Forbes magazine, is named one of the, if not the most powerful women in Hollywood. So if that's the case, I'm sure she knew about the reality of who Weinstein was. And I'm not going to rehash all this stuff necessarily, but here's what's interesting. When trolls or people that are leftists come on and they see that I've written that, what do you think they do? You know, I'm not demeaning. I'm pointing out something that's happening in Hollywood with pedophilia and sexual assault that needs to be looked at, right? I'm not trying to lump in D.C., although we could lump in D.C. and their slush fund for all the sexual predators that are up in there that they use of our taxpayer money. But I was talking specifically about this group. Well, they come on, people that are leftists or Oprah Winfrey freaks that just simply follow her like it's a cult. You know, they come on and they try to spin it back to President Trump. And they'll say things that they don't know anything about. Like, they'll say stuff about President Trump like he's raped 20 women or something like that, right? There's no proof of that. There's never been anybody come out and show proof that any of these allegations were real. Whenever they walk up there, when anybody walks up with Gloria Allred or her daughter, Lisa Bloom, you can almost automatically know that there's something nefarious about the whole thing. But yet, when I look at that picture and I read the reports of how powerful Oprah is in Hollywood, and we know that she's worked closely with Weinstein before, it's easy to deduct from that information that they have a relationship, a friendship, or a working relationship. And if that's the case, everybody in Hollywood that worked in and around Weinstein's world knew who he was and what he was doing. So it's easy to make an educated deduction about Oprah Winfrey by the evidence that's presented to us. You don't have evidence that Donald Trump has done this or that all these people accuse him of. And so when I looked at yesterday, Forbes magazine, which I thought was a credible magazine in a lot of ways, it was reporting that President Trump and a porn star had a relationship or had sex or something, and that she was paid off by the attorneys and signed a non-disclosure agreement. But today, Trump's attorney came out and said, no, that's not the case. And so did the porn star, saying that, no, that was not the case. So, it's disturbing to me how people are so quick to believe stuff that they're told by television stations and people like the different, like Don Lemon or somebody like that, telling them something that this is truth when there's no proof of it. When Forbes magazine puts out a story as though it's truth when they offer no proof of whether or not it's true. And then when we look at these comments that were said in the Oval Office by the president, there's no transcript of it, there's no recording of it, and quite frankly, it's hard to believe that the president would go on a racist rant in front of people that he knows they don't like him. All right, I'm assuming he's not a racist. Okay, I've never seen him display racial tendencies. What I have seen are people that want to malign him twist his words and his actions to make it sound like and seem like he's a racist. But I haven't seen that, right? So when they go into this room, do you think that even if he was racist, that he's going to blatantly say things that are that degrading to the way they're making it sound to people that don't like him, as though it's not going to be leaked within a matter of minutes? I mean, I don't think that he is that stupid. So what I see now when we have, I think it's Dick Dermott, Democrat from Illinois. Oh boy, Illinois Democrat. Like he's going to come out and be the bastion of honesty and truth. He comes out and he starts saying all this stuff. Quite frankly, we don't know what the president said. And I have to tell you, when he says, if he did say that it's an S-hole, a crap hole, the fact is he's right. He's absolutely right. Folks, come on. Look at this. Let me put this up here. Hold on one second here. Let me add this. Let's see here. Bling, 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 do. Okay. You tell me, folks. Does this look like a place that you want to hang out, or if you live there that you wouldn't want to escape? What does that look like? I think even if he did use the word S-hole, the reality is this is a hellhole is what this is. This place, this is Haiti, is disgusting. And the reason why it's disgusting is not because of this little boy right here. It's not because of the color of his skin. It's because of the rampant, nefarious, I know that's twice I've used that word tonight, criminal politicians that exist in this area. And because the rich, the split between the rich and the poor, that is a hellhole. And it's a hellhole because of politics and rich criminals, and then the people like the Clintons come down there and screwing these people out of all the relief money that they were supposed to have. That's why it's a hellhole, and that's why people are trying to escape there. Now, when if the president said something about Norway or whatever, the fact is that's the richest, I believe it's Norway, one of those places up there that he mentioned, is the richest GDP in the world. So of course people aren't going to want to leave there. And people get free health care. I think they get free education in a lot of ways. And also, it's a very tiny country. Same thing with Denmark. 8 million people, the same amount of people that live in New York City. You can't have the same thing that a small country like that has. States could do it here, but the federal government's not going to be able to do that. So those people don't want to leave where they live. This poor child right here, not only does he, well, he may not know one way or the other right now at this point, but as he gets older, he's going to realize he lives in a hellhole, and he's going to want to get out of there. Now, James Gagliano may tell you that that's not a third world country, but I'm here to tell you that is a third world country. And I know guys that have operated in Dominican Republic, and they said when you got to the border, there's no fence. When you got to the border of Haiti, it looked like this. And that's because of the government. They said even the cows look sick. Now, if you don't think that that is a third world country or that that's a hellhole, then I don't know what world that you live in. But the Democrats want you to believe that if you say that is a bad place, then you're racist against that child. And the fact is it has nothing to do with that child. It has everything to do with the politics and the same type of nasty criminal politicians that we have here in this country. And I believe that the president, if he did say that, was absolutely correct and was not being racist. I mean, this is where they spin this stuff. They also like to use, once they get, like a couple of years ago, they kept using the word teabag, talking about the Tea Party. And they said that tens, thousands of times. And they knew what it meant and those of you that know what that slang, I'm not going to go into what that slang means, but it's the same thing here. One of these, I don't know if it was CNN or MSNBC, probably CNN, they said it 36 times yesterday. Not teabag, but the S-hole word. They said it 36 times because they can, and they want to make it that in your face and over the top. and then they act emotional. Some of them had tears coming out of their eyes. Ridiculousness. But what bothers me the most about this is the fact that the president cannot call members from Congress into the Oval Office without them turning around and immediately maligning him and leaking whatever stuff that they were trying to work. They can't work it out. They can't do it because they are so leftist and they are so to the point where they just don't care about the American people. They don't care about fixing these problems. They want there to be open borders. They want there to be this type of situation in these countries so these people will come here so they can get more votes. That's what it's all about. Redistricting the areas in which they are representatives and then getting people in there. That's why sanctuary cities occur. They don't occur because Mayor de Blasio here cares about people, or Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, or Jerry Brown out in California, Governor of California. You think that they care about people? They don't care about people. They care about votes, and that's why they do it. It has nothing to do with whether or not they care about people. So that's the truth about behind the headlines. When we look at the headlines, the thing that bothers me the most is not that President Trump said that or didn't say that. The fact is that immediately somebody came out of that meeting, started maligning him, and then the media started reporting it with no transcript, with no nothing. There's no proof. And the only people that are saying that he said this are Democrats that were in there. Other people that are, some people are Republicans saying that he should apologize, but none of them are saying, how do we know he really said it? Nobody says that. Nobody says that. Somebody on Twitter just said, does Trump care? You know, I'll tell you, I don't know personally because I can't read anybody's heart, but I can tell you that the things that he talked about while he was campaigning and the things that he still talks about now that he's president, I would assume that he cares because he's talking about things that affect me, not things that affect and make this country easier to get into for illegal aliens and people that are not American citizens. You know, President Trump looks at military members and law enforcement and puts them on a high pedestal. People from the left and some people from the right, for that matter, they don't do that, and they crap all over the military and put them in harm's way. And the FBI, you know, these deep state people at the top of the FBI, they're the same. You can put them in the same category. They don't care about the low-level agents. They don't care about them. They don't care about the people that work in and around their agencies. They don't care. Look, this is that reality is when President Trump says what he says, he is stating that he does recognize the military and the reality that they need good equipment, and then if we put them in a fight, it needs to be the right fight. He does say that he wants to build a wall so that he can protect American citizens and American interests and keep the crime and the drugs and the rapists and the terrorists out. I don't see anything wrong with that. Everything he's done has been pretty much with a focus of what makes America better. So I would have to think that he does care. In the contrary, when we look at some of these leftists or globalists like John McCain, it's totally opposite. They are not doing what is best for the country. And in fact, in a lot of cases, I don't know who said this. I heard on Tucker Carlson in passing, I thought he said Lindsey Graham, was that the American people don't come first. And I'm assuming that wasn't Lindsey Graham, but whoever said that, the American people matter the most when it comes to immigration, not these people that are coming over here. I don't care if they're coming over legally or not. American people come first. Our safety comes first. Our lives come first. Our rights come first. And then if we set up a system for them, for foreigners to come here and that's effective, then we can say, okay, once you get here, you matter too. But as far as I'm concerned, they don't matter. The American people matter inside this country. Let their countries take care of them. Better yet, go fix your own country, overthrow your own government, take care of your country, clean it up, and make your space livable. So somebody says on Twitter, anyone can come to the U.S. legally. That's not true, but I hope it's never true. I hope that not everybody can come here legally, because we don't want everybody here. First off, we don't have room for everybody to come and live in this one spot in the world. But secondly, this world is filled with people who do not have morals and ethics. This country is filled with people who don't have morals and ethics. Do we want more of those people in here? Do we want impoverished, illiterate people to come here and live? And trust me when I tell you this, folks, live in the same terrible environment that they lived in over there, wherever they come from. I happen to function a lot when I was in the Bureau on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, making some mini arrests down there in Chinatown. And you go into these places and there's 12 illegal Chinese people living in there in poverty, stink and stench, urinating in the hallways, not food that's been left on the stove that's rotten. That's exactly how they lived where they came from. Now, is that what you want here? You want to allow those people to come here? They're not even going to change the way they live. They don't learn our language. They just become a burden on the state. I mean, that's the reality of everybody can come here legally. You don't want that. Trust me. You do not want that. I hope I didn't anger any decorated FBI agents tonight. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's go to the B block. And we're speaking of decorated fakers. We're going to talk about a woman that nobody else is talking about. Her name's Candice Will. And she is DOJ Deep State. Let's go to the B block. I got to slow down. I'm almost out of my Friday night toast that you guys got to go get something to drink here in a minute. So Candice Will, I took notes on this. I got briefed on her today. She was a unit chief in the DOJ while conducting audits of the Bureau. Mueller brought her to the Bureau and made her assistant director of OPR. She's not an agent. She's an attorney. She is a Hillary supporter and campaign contributor, and she will be responsible for the final verdict of the fate of Strzok and Page, the two that were having the affair. And my source is telling me don't expect much. Now, you can look all the way back at Mueller and his career as a veteran in the Marine Corps and as a DOJ attorney, his tenure as the FBI director, and throughout the years it got worse and worse. I mean, by the time he got to the FBI, I believe he was already corrupted. When he was running the FBI, he turned it from a law enforcement agency into an intelligence gathering agency, and that didn't benefit anybody but the people in power and their ability to basically collect information on whatever they wanted and use it in any way that they want. Very conspiratorial sounding, but this is the truth. So it makes sense when you look at somebody like Candice Will, why he would bring her over to be head of OPR. Now, what OPR is our internal affairs, basically. OPR investigates, it does internal investigations and hands down punishment for agents and support staff that do things wrong or are accused of doing things wrong. Also, if you haven't shared this on Facebook, our numbers are somewhat low. Make sure you share this on Facebook, retweet it on Twitter, and if you're on YouTube, I love you. I don't know. We got 20 people watching on YouTube. Anyway, I love you guys on YouTube. So, Candice Will is a good example of where even my good buddy Sean Hannity, I don't think he knows her name, which I got to get her name over to him because this is the reality. This is one of the ways that they will keep people from getting in trouble. They'll either have them resigned, they'll remove them from the investigation, and in case of Strzok, he got reassigned where he's head over HR of the FBI. You took a guy who was planning on of introducing his insurance plan to keep President Trump from being elected, along with his lover, the attorney, her last name's Page, and they're having an extramarital affair. That guy, the criminal, who I believe what he did, it surpasses espionage and actually becomes treason, was not fired, or he wasn't fired until he brings his case forward. He was reassigned and given a lateral promotion to head of human resources for the FBI. Now, here's what's interesting. In the process, he could still get a bonus if he does something right with the with HR. This is how crazy this whole deep state really is, and it's real. So Candice Will, remember who she is. She was a unit chief at the DOJ. She was conducting an audit of the Bureau, and Mueller, when he was the director of the FBI, brought her over and made her assistant director of OPR. Now I believe she's director of OPR. So she is a Hillary supporter. She's known to have donated to Hillary Clinton's campaign, and she's responsible for Strzok and Page and their punishment. That should shock you. I don't know if it's going to shock you anymore, but this is the reality of how the deep state works. They have these people in place. They're not just, they're not just making this up as they go along. These are people that have been in place for a long time, and they ensure that that these people are going to get off on whatever they get in trouble for. I've seen it before with several ADICs, the assistant directors in charge, and other people where they do something wrong. In one case in New York City, we had an assistant deputy or assistant director in charge who promoted his girlfriend or his lover to an SAC position. That's a no-no. He promoted her when in fact he should have recused himself from that. Somebody else should have evaluated her. He evaluated her and promoted her while he's sleeping with her, and he got in trouble for that. But what did he do? He got promoted to deputy assistant director in headquarters. So you basically punished him by giving them a promotion and pulling them up. Now he still got bonuses if he did certain things. And this is the interesting thing, the way this bonus system